Hey guys, this is homework number 17. This homework is on using the division algorithm. So study the example problem showing how to use the division algorithm, then solve problems 1 through 6. So they always start us off with an example. Let's take a look. There are 896 people at the school's basketball game. The stands are divided into 16 equal sections. If each section has the same number of people, how many people are in each section? So first, they tell us to estimate the quotient. So they took 896 and they rounded up to 900. Then they took 16 and they rounded up to 20. So they said 900 divided by 20 is 45. And of course, 20 times 45 equals 900. So our answer should be around this number here. Keep in mind that's an estimate, but that's what we're aiming for. You can use the division algorithm to divide 896 by 16. So they've set it up, they've got our dividend, 896, they've got our divisor, 16. In the standard algorithm, you always start with the highest place value and work over from left to right. So they start by looking at our 8 and saying, does 16 go into 8? And of course it doesn't, 8 is smaller than 16. So then you move over to the tens place and you take a look at the 89 in the tens place. Now, does 16 go into 89? Absolutely it does. They say it goes into 89 5 times. So that 5 in the tens place tells us that 5 times 16 gives us 80. So they subtract that 80 and then they bring down their ones place. So they're left with 96. And of course, 16 times 6 is 96. They subtract it to get 0, and their final answer, their final quotient, is 56. There are 56 people in each section. Now, if you're struggling to come up with your multiplication facts, like perhaps you didn't know that 16 times 5 equals 80, a quick tip that I always give is to write your multiples of 16 off to the side before you even begin. So you just continuously add 16. 16 plus 16 gives me 32, plus another 16 gives me 48, plus another 16 gives me 64, plus another 16 gives me 80, plus another 16 gives me 96. And I'm going to stop there because that's the highest number they've used. So now I can see that 16 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 80. So that really helps you if you're struggling with mental math or you don't know your multiplication facts off the top of your head. If you just go ahead and put that off to the side, then as you're working through, you can say, well, how far can I go? 16 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 16 times 6 is 96. So that's my quick tip when you're working with division of multi-digit numbers. Question number 3 says a train traveled 936 miles at a constant speed in 12 hours. A says, how can you find the number of miles the train traveled each hour? So if we know that in 12 hours it went 936 miles, we want to divide that 936 by 12 to find the miles per hour. It doesn't say to solve it yet, so I'm just going to leave a question mark there. B says, what is a reasonable estimate for the quotient? So when we're estimating, we just want to round up or down. So 936, I'm actually going to round that to 950. And then 12 hours, I'm actually going to round down to 10 hours because tens are really easy to work with. So 950 divided by 10 is going to give me an answer of 95, right? 10 times 95 is 950? Yep. So that is my estimate. That is around where we should see our answer. C says, how many miles did the train travel each hour? So C is asking us to actually solve this problem. Now you can use partial quotients or you can use the standard algorithm for this. So we have 936 divided by 12. Now right away, I know I'm working with 12s, so on the side of my paper, I'm just going to make a quick list of multiples of 12. 12, 24, 36, plus 12 is 48, plus 12 is 60, plus 12 is 72, 84, 96, I think I'll stop there. All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to do this problem using the standard algorithm this time. So does 12 go into 9? No, it does not, which means there's nothing there. Now we move on and we look at 93. Does 12 go into 93? If I take a look at my multiples of 12, I can see that it does, in fact, go into 93. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. 12 times 7 is 84. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that. Remember to keep it in the tens place. So 6 gets brought down. 3 minus 4 you can't do, so I'm going to borrow from the 9. 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. 8 minus 8 is 0. So now we're left with 96 ones. Does 12 go into 96? It absolutely does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So 12 times 8 is 96. And that 8 goes in the ones place because our 96 is in the ones place. 96 minus 96 is 0. So our final answer is 78. So 78 what though? When we look at our question, it says how many miles did the train travel each hour? So this would be 78 miles per hour. And if you remember our unit 1, miles per hour is actually a rate. All right, question 4. Zachary is reading a book that has 420 pages. The book is divided into 28 chapters. What is the average number of pages per chapter? So in this one, we're dividing 420 by 28. So I'm going to separate it on my paper. We've got 420 divided by 28. Now I'm working with 28s, so right away on the side of my paper, I'm going to list my multiples of 28. 28 plus 28 equals 56, plus 28 equals 84, plus 28 equals 112, plus 28 equals 140. And I'm just going to stop there because I don't think we're going to need to go any further. All right, so this time I'm going to use the partial quotients method to get my answer. So I know I want to get as close to this 420 as possible. And if I look over to the side here, I can see that really we go right from 28 to 56. So if I'm trying to get in this 400 range, I can do 28 times 10. So 28 times 10 is going to give me 280. And I'm going to subtract that from my 420. But that's not going to be my final answer. That's only part of my answer. That's one of my partial quotients. So 0 minus 0 is 0. 2 minus 8 you can't do, but you can borrow. Turn it into a 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. Now we're left with 140. So if I look over here on my multiples of 12, I know that 12 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 140. So I can subtract my 140, left with 0. Now I have to add my partial quotients. So 10 plus 5 equals 15. So 420 divided by 28 equals 15. So let's go back to our problem. Zachary read a book that had 420 pages, 28 chapters. The average number of pages per chapter would be 15 pages per chapter. Another unit rate, we know that because we've got that word per here. So 15 pages per chapter. Please remember to label your numbers. It's not 15 chapters, it's not 15 books, it's 15 pages per chapter. Number 5, an art teacher has 816 toothpicks to distribute equally among 16 students. How many toothpicks does each student get? So now we're working with 816 divided by 16. I'm going to go ahead and list my multiples of 16 off to the side here. Either way you want to solve it is fine. If you want to use partial quotients or if you want to use standard algorithm. This time I'm going to use standard algorithm. So first I'm going to say how many times does 16 go into 8? Well, I know that 16 does not go into 8, so let's move on to 81. How many times does 16 go into 81? So if you take a look over here, I can see that 16 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives me 80. Now my 5 goes in the tens place because this 81 is not just 81, it's 81 tens. So that means that I would subtract 80 from 81, bring down my 6, and I'm left with 16. Now how many times does 16 go into 16? Hopefully you know that one. Easy. One time. So 816 divided by 16 gives me an answer of 51. So 51 what though? I have to go back, look at my question. How many toothpicks? So 51 toothpicks. All right, number 6, last one. So the last question in the homework is usually a 2-step problem, something that requires a little bit more thought. A local theater charges $26 for each adult ticket and $17 for each student ticket. For one show, the theater took in $988 from adults and $731 from students. How many people attended the performance? So here, we're going to have to add the number of adults and the number of students together after we divide to find each number. So for adults, they spent $988. So 988 divided by, and each ticket costs 26 for adults. So 988 divided by 26 is going to give me the number of adults. So I'm going to go back to my scrap paper and I'm going to try to solve this one. All right, so we've got 988 divided by 26. Now, I am not familiar with my 26 multiplication facts, so I'm just going to take a moment to write my multiples of 26 down on the side of my paper. So we've got 26 plus 26 gives us 52, plus 26 gives us 78, plus 26 gives us 104. I'm going to stop there. I think that's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to use my partial quotients method this time since I used standard algorithm last time, but keep in mind either one is fine. So I want to try and get as close to this 988 as possible. I want to try and break this down into large chunks, save me some steps. So looking at my multiples of 26, I can see that the closest I can get to 988 would be 780. So I know that 26 times 1, 2, 3 gives me 78, which means 26 times 30 gives me 780. 8 minus 0 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0, and 9 minus 7 is 2. So now I've got 208 left, so I'm not done with my problem yet. So looking again, I want to get as close to 208 as possible. I can see here that I went up to 104, so I think I'm just going to go there and say 26 times 1, 2, 3, 4 gives me 104. I'm going to subtract that. 8 minus 4 is 4, 0 minus 0 is 0, 2 minus 1 is 1. 104. Oh, I can do the same thing again. Plus 4. 104 minus 104 gives me 0. Now I'm ready to add my partial quotients. So I've got 30 plus 4 plus 4. That gives me a total of 38 adults. I'm not done yet. Next, I have to figure out the number of students. So in the number of students, it says $731 was collected from students. So 731, and each ticket costs 17. So we're going to divide by 17. All right, so right away, I'm going to make my multiples of 17. 17 plus 17 equals 34, plus 17 equals 51, plus 17 equals 68. I'm going to stop there. All right, this time I'll use my standard algorithm again. So, does 17 go into 7? No, it does not. Does 17 go into 73? It does indeed. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So that 4 goes in the tens place because the 3 in 73 is in the tens place. So we would subtract 17 times 4 is 68. We're going to subtract 68 here and bring down our 1. 73 minus 68, 8, 9, gives us 5, 51. So now I'm going to look back at my multiples of 17 and I'm going to say, well, I have 51 ones left And 17 times 1, 2, 3 gives me 51. Leaving me with 0 left to divide and a quotient of 43 students. All right, so now let's take a look at the problem again and see what my next step should be. So how many people attended the performance? Well, we know that there were 38 adults. And we know that we took 731 divided by 17 to get 43 students. So my final step is to add these two numbers together to find the total number of people. So I would do 38 plus 43. 8, 9, 10, 11. Carry that 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 81. So 81 people attended. Done. So that is how you solve homework number 17.